What's up, fight fans? Welcome to the Rearview Mirror. My name, of course, is Flying Brian J. Please like my Facebook page if you like anything that I say. That would help me out a lot. You can also follow me on Twitter at Flying Brian J. On this episode of the program, I am completely alone by myself. We're here to recap UFC Fortaleza, or UFC Fight Night 106. Where Kelvin Gastelum showed out, looked incredible in stomping out Vitor Belfort in the very first round. Where's my Wikipedia? To get the official time on it. At 3:52 of round number 1. So, of course, I want you to vote below me here for what post-fight grade you would give the entire card. I'm going to talk about that right now. So, I said in the preamble with Wesley Riddle, who's not here right now, I think that Wesley's dad isn't doing well, and so he couldn't make the post-fight show, so let's keep Wesley Riddle's father in our thoughts and prayers if you're into that sort of thing. But anyway, so we said in the pre-fight that we just kind of wanted to wash out the main event of UFC 209 from our palate, just get rid of that. And this fight card, I think, really did a good job of redeeming itself, or for the UFC redeeming itself from that event, because this card was pretty G-dang phenomenal. Where the last 3 fights ended in pretty fantastic fashion. Kelvin Gastelum with the TKO over Vitor. Mauricio turning back the clock, knocking out Gian Villante at 59 seconds left to go in round number 3. Edson Barbosa with the incredible, holy shit, flying knee over Benyel Dariush. This card delivered in lots of ways. It is super late though, so I'm going to knock off a couple of points for that, but overall, I think I'm going to give the card an A-, you know, B+, A- in that area. It turned out really, really well. But yeah, I thought going in it was going to be a B+, and it was right there in the wheelhouse for what I expected it to be. Let's talk about the main event, and then we're going to get into my WTF of the card. So Kelvin Gastelum came out and showed out over Vitor Belfort. I did my preview prediction video, and I said that Kelvin had a shit ton of power in his left hand. And maybe I shouldn't have said that he had as much power in that left hand as Vitor has ever had in Vitor's left hand. That might have been an idiotic statement, but there were some people calling me a fucking dumbass for saying that Kelvin had a lot of power in his left hand. Well, you know what? Kelvin hit Vitor with at least 2 really good straight lefts off a jab that dropped Vitor both times. Yes, Vitor is a shell of his former self, but that left hand, it's super quick. The guy really rotates his hips into it. He sets it up nicely with his jabs, and it's a really incredible punch, and he knocked down Vitor. I saw some folks talking about they think that the stoppage was early. No, the stoppage was not early, especially if you watch Vitor try to get up afterward. He had to have help to get up, and then he had to have help down to sit on the stool. He was obviously dazed quite a bit. So we can expect great things from Kelvin Gastelum. I think that one of my Twitter followers suggested that maybe Kelvin get the winner of Gegard Mousasi versus Chris Weidman. I think that's fantastic piece of matchmaking right there. I think that we run with that. What's next for Vitor Belfort? I thought maybe he was going to retire. You know, he's in his home country and yada yada. So he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He has not looked good in a super long time. But no, he said he has 1 fight on his contract, and he wants to have that fight in his home country in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, or in his hometown in Rio, right? Well, I guess the UFC is probably going to give him that. But who do they match him up against? I saw a lot of people suggesting maybe they give him Anderson the Spider Silva. I don't think that's the thing. I think if he's going to plan an exit fight, we give him, I mean, look at Mauricio versus Gian Villante. Maybe we give him somebody like that. Maybe we give him Gian Villante. But either way, I don't think we give him another legend. I think we give him somebody like Patrick Cummins. Maybe give Vitor Patrick Cummins in his home country, because I think that he could get a finish over him. You know, I just want to get him a win in his exit, or at least give him a chance to get a victory in his exit. And let's be real, Anderson versus Vitor at this stage in both their careers, it's not going to be that exciting of a fight. And I think that Vitor could show out against somebody like Patrick Cummins. Now, Kelvin called out Anderson Silva for Rio in his post-fight, and I don't think that's right for him either. Kelvin, you're not on the senior tour. You're not on the money fight tour. That's not what we're going to give you. You're an obvious contender. You're putting these dudes down. His performance against Tim Kennedy was absolutely astonishing, and then I expected him to do this against Vitor, but to see it actually happen and to see that my prediction come to fruition, this guy needs to be pushed toward the upper echelon of the middleweight division. This is an exciting division toward the top, and I think that Kelvin needs to be pushed into something like a contender style of fight, or something to get him, to go to the next level. Not a senior tour, not a money fight type of thing. Let me check the comments. Jack Mooney says, you got to feel for Villante's coach. His fighter doesn't listen to a word he says. So that's a good segue into talking about Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Jean Villante, and then I'll get into my WTF of the card. So John, he, basically his coach was yelling the same thing that Edmund Tarverdian yells, head movement, head movement. John wouldn't do any of that. John hurt Mauricio multiple times with, some good punches, but then never followed up on it. Yes, Mauricio is super durable, super dangerous with his strikes coming back, with his counters, but John he hurt him and he never went in for the kill. I think he could have went in for the kill, did not do it. I've never had high hopes for John Villante. He's never beat anybody, in the upper echelon either, but great stuff for Mauricio Shogun, who basically he threw the same thing over and over, like a slight jab and then overhand right, and it caught John every single fucking time, and he hurt John on multiple occasions. The stoppage almost seemed early to me for like a split second. I was like, maybe that was a little touch early, give him some ground and pound, but John didn't seem to protest it. He seemed to know that it was over, and it was I'm being a fool here because it was trickling toward the end of the fight either way. I didn't think John was coming back from it, but ordinarily we see some extra ground and pound strikes, so I was a little bit shocked there. Mauricio, what's next for him? I don't know. Same thing. Give him these lower level guys, put him in Brazil, and let him show out a little bit. He's never going to be a contender. He's never going to beat somebody like Cormier. Let me look at his record real fast. This is nuts. I guess. Never mind. I just had the thought that maybe we could give him to Rashad Evans, but that's probably not going to happen either. I don't know off the top of my head what's next for Mauricio Shogun Rua, but you tell me in the comments what's next for him. I like to see him get victories. I like to see him land that overhand right. Those goofy fucking tiny little shorts of his are strange, but, they work out for him. It's weird that his cup hangs lower than the edge of his shorts. Doesn't that strike anyone else as a little bit funny? Anyway, let's get to my WTF of the card. Now, we're going to go way down toward the beginning of the card. Probably happened 5 hours ago now. Joe, One Bad Mofo, Soto, and Ronnie Yahya, they clashed heads. And then Joe Soto's fucking, temple right over here was spewing blood for, the next 11 minutes. And the guy still stayed alert. He didn't... But it looked like a murder scene. It looked like a horror movie in the octagon with his face spewing blood, running down his face, getting on the back of Hani Yahya and all that stuff. That's my WTF of the card. WTF, man. How do you lose that much blood and keep going? How does that much blood spew from your forehead? Jake Webb says, I was looking at Vitor's package, or not Vitor, on Mauricio's package. It's just his goofy little tiny little shorts. If they were any shorter, his butt cheeks would be hanging out of them. They're the type of shorts that you want to see, I don't know, Betcha Kohea wearing, But they're silly. Jack Mooney can't believe that the Soto fight wasn't stopped. They couldn't get the bleeding to stop, so I thought they were going to stop the fight. I picked Soto with a slight upset, so I'm glad that it went on. I'm glad he got that victory. But Eamon Scott says that Yahya was concussed. Yeah, ever since that clash of heads, that Yahya was never the same going forward. So yeah, that was the case too. You could have called it a no contest from the accidental butt of heads. It obviously affected Yahya in the rest of the fight going forward, and Joe Soto probably lost more blood than really is allowable. So yeah, my WTF of the card goes to blood. Next, we're talking about Edson Jr. Barbosa versus Benyel Dariush. Benny was implementing the perfect game plan, right? Taking the space away. Brian Stan was calling it perfectly. Edson needs to plant his feet to throw these spinning kicks, throw the high kicks and stuff. Benny was pushing forward the whole time, and every time that Edson actually got his feet planted, Benny was attacking and moving forward and doing that shit. But as Edson said in his post-fight interview, he knew that Benny was going to keep pressing forward, was going to keep putting his head down when he was putting that pressure on, and Edson timed the perfect jumping flying knee. Bam! I was seeing shades of Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero, knocking out Chris Weidman. It wasn't that devastating because, Benny's face didn't spew blood like Joe Soto's. But wow, he was out cold. Edson followed up with one ground and pound strike. Unnecessary, didn't really need it. The referee was trying to close the distance to get the fight stopped, but impressive performance really by both guys. The one moment that Edson had was a finish, so fucking fantastic there. Benny showing off fight IQ, showing off fantastic boxing and high kicks at range. Fantastic stuff from really both guys. Highlight reel. Man, think about this. Edson Barbosa's highlight reel is one of the best ever. You look back at fighters like Anderson the Spider Silva, where he has that, upward elbow to, I forget his name, but the front kick, the Vitor Belfort, the bobbing and weaving, matrix-looking shit over Forrest Griffin. Fantastic highlight reel, right? Edson Barbosa's highlight reel is on par with that. Holy shit, that guy is something to behold. The spinning heel kick on Terry Adams' face, and then the flying knee KO of Benyel Dariush. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Moving down, flyweight fight, Ray Borg versus Jussier Formiga. Unanimous decision in Borg's favor, 29-28 across the board. I scored the first 2 rounds for Jussier, even though they were incredibly close, so I'm not going to argue it at all. Basically, I picked Jussier. If you were here for the preamble, I picked Jussier, so that's one reason why I scored it for him. But the most decisive moments in the entire fight happened in the 3rd round, where Ray Borg got Jussier down, had his back. Jussier was, defending a choke. Ray showed off a lot of strength, a lot of diversity, dynamic striking on the feet at distance, all kinds of well-roundedness. He called out the winner of Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson versus Wilson Hayes. I don't know about that, but I like what Eamon Scott says. Benavidez versus Borg for a #1 contender. Yeah, let's go with that perhaps, even though Dana White said recently, or Benavidez said that Dana White said, so it's really, down the grapevine, but that Benavidez is probably not going to get a title shot against Demetrius Johnson. They've already fought, is it 3 times? Or at least in the last time they fought, I could look it up, but I'm not going to. Anyway, Dana White said that he doesn't want to see that fight again, so it's probably not going to happen. I think that we get Ray Borg in there with somebody like I got to look something up. Ray Borg, I want to get him in there against Oka Sasaki. That'd be fun because, again, they're both really good grapplers. And I guess Oka could just be the springboard for getting title shots because Wilson Hayes just beat him via decision. Now he's getting title shot against Demetrius Johnson, which, by the way, I will be there in Kansas City. Bought my tickets on Thursday, so fucking super stoked about that. But let's get Ray Borg against Oka Yuta Sasaki. That'd be fun right there. Yes, the fight with Benavidez and Ray Borg would be fun. Right, winner fight Cejudo even. Yeah, maybe. It's so crazy that, Demetrius Johnson is just running in circles, beating all these guys multiple times, emphatically and very decisively, but we can't just have like the same few guys fight him over and over. Why not just have Ray Borg go straight into a title shot? And if you feel like he needs another victory before getting a title shot, give him to somebody else, not Benavidez. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, yeah. Impressive performance from Ray Borg. Nice mic skills. Way to call out, somebody. I hate when fighters are like, oh, I'm a company man. I'll do whatever the UFC says. No, dude. Fucking say something. Put your name out there. Give us a clip that we can use in a promo package later on. Let's move on to a women's bantamweight fight between Betcha Correia and Marianne Renault. I was supposed to be annoyed by Marianne's coach for saying, hey, 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 1,000 fucking times, but evidently he wasn't there and wasn't doing that, so super happy about that. Daniel Snyder, I'd call that the Pettis fight, being from Milwaukee, not the Cejudo fight. Yeah, nice, dude. Good call. The last question that I'll answer for a second here. Will Demetrius Johnson ever go to bantamweight? I wanted to see Demetrius Johnson go to bantamweight and fight Cruz if Cruz got past Cody Garbrandt. But now, since, there's so many fun matchups we could make in the bantamweight division with Cody Garbrandt right now, TJ Dillashaw, that shit happening. Why? Why have him do that? He's too small. Yes, it would be fun, but I wouldn't pick him to win the majority of those top-level fights because he's just too small. Let's just keep having him show out at the flyweight division. I know people don't like Demetrius Johnson because... Actually, I don't know why they don't like him. Because he's super small. The dude finishes fights. He's the most technical fighter in the fucking world. He's a marketable man. He plays video games. I love his Twitch streams. He's he's very interactive with the fans on those, and I just don't understand why he doesn't get the push. But let's just enjoy him for what he is, and let him take one fight at a time. In Kansas City on April 15th, he's going to go to tie Anderson Silva's record for 10 consecutive title defenses. Let's let him continue to do that kind of thing. He's not going to be successful in the bantamweight division anyway. Speaking of bantamweights, women's bantamweight, I said it, Bocek, Marion Renaud. It went to a majority draw. One judge scored it in favor of Marion Renaud. First 2 rounds, Betcha won, I think, basically with striking volume. Third round comes out, Marion hurt Betch, got her down, and then controlled her for the rest of the time. And then I scored it a draw, and that's what it ended up being. I wanted Betch to win, though. I'm not a huge fan of Marion Renaud. I shouldn't be that way, but that's how I feel, I'm being honest with you guys. It ended that way. It was way more exciting than I thought it was going to be, so that was nice. Another thing that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, welterweight fight, Alex Cowboy Oliveira beating the snot out of Tim the Dirty Bird Means. In the first fight, I picked Alex Oliveira to win because I thought that he could control Tim Means on the ground and with his clinch game. It wasn't the case in the first fight, and then Tim ended up hitting him with some illegal knees, no contest. Come out the second fight, I picked Tim Means because Alex was unable to get the better of him with that clinch game in the first bout. In the second bout now, Alex Oliveira showed out, man, showing some ton of strength in the first round, picking Tim up and dropping him, suplexing him, throwing him around like he was a little kid at least like 4 or 5 times. Whoa. Second round, similar thing, gets him down, snaps in the... Did he have the body triangle or not? Anyway, muscled that rear naked choke in, and Tim tapped out. They showed some respect afterward, which was nice, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm here for the violence mostly, but the respect was, fun as well. Kevin Lee, submission rear naked choke of Francisco Masaranduba Trinaldo at 3:12 of round number 2. That was a fun fight. Francisco hurt Kevin Lee multiple times with his left hand in the first round. Kevin was not able to get the better of Francisco in the first round with his wrestling. Come out in the second round, even though Francisco has the better striking, is more decorated in that area. Kevin hurt him with I believe it was a kick, kind of caught Francisco to the back of the head, wobbled him a little bit, got him to the ground, and got that rear naked choke not long after. Kevin Lee did some decent mic work there as well. So overall tonight, a lot of people doing some good stuff with the microphone when they've got it put in their face. Kevin called out Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. I don't think you're ready for that yet, man. And Kevin said that Nurmi's fans want that fight and Lee's fans want the fight, so let's make the fight. What? Nurmi's fans don't want that fight, bro. What are you? Must have been catching whiffs of marijuana being smoked in that arena, but whatever. Good call out, but you're not gonna get Nurmi, and his fans don't want to see him fight you because he's supposed to be in a title fight right now. So there's that. Okay, but great win, Kevin Lee. Way to use your microphone time for the better. But I'm sorry, you're just not going to fight Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Welterweight fight, Sergio Moraes versus Davy Ramos. Pretty much the low light of the night. Sergio got the victory, 30-27 across the board. Davy looked good. Sergio looked slightly better. The fight was not great, so that's all I'm going to say about it. Bantamweight fight, Joe One Bad Mofo Soto, Hani Yahya. We talked about it briefly. The clash of heads. Ronnie was winning with striking in the first round. Joe was doing a good job of defending takedowns throughout the entirety of the fight, but once the clash of heads happened, Ronnie just seemed to lose his bearing a little bit, lost all of his cardio, was going for really sloppy takedowns from way the hell outside. Joe was easily defending them, going for front chokes or headlocks, then switching position, getting on top of Ronnie. God, I can't get the difference. Most Portuguese, the R is said H, but Hani Yahya or Ronnie Yahya wants it to be said Ronnie, so there's that. Joe Soto controlled Ronnie for the second and third round for the last 10 minutes of the fight, basically getting that victory, showing a lot of perseverance after having his face spew blood for a really long time. Lightweight fight, Michelle Tractor Prazeres versus Josh Berkman. Submission north-south choke at 141 of round number 1. I thought this fight would go similar to this. I thought it would happen later, but Berkman, he we thought he retired. I thought it was going to be good that he retired. He never seems to actually want to fight when he's in the octagon. He just does some goofy shit, backs up to the cage a lot with his hands down, circles, looking for a single strike to finish his opponent. It hasn't worked. He's 1-5 in his last 6. Michel Prazeres came out there with a lot of tenacity, a lot of ferocity, a lot of gumption. Hit Josh Bergman over and over and over again early, hurt him, got on the ground, north-south choke for the finish. Featherweight fight, Jeremy Kennedy versus Honey Jason. Honey showed that he does not have very good gas tank. Hurt Jeremy Kennedy, I think, with a flying knee. Yeah, jumping double flying knee in the first round, was it? But then really couldn't finish him, and then really went downhill quickly after that. First fight of the night, middleweight fight, Paulo Henrique Costa Borrachina. Gareth McClellan knocked him out, or TKO'd him at 117 of the very first round. Whoa. Borrachina looks to like a... In the middleweight division, we don't really need contenders at the top right now, but he looks like a scary son of a gun. So they said on the broadcast that when Anderson Silva was supposed to face Uriah Primetime Hall, Andy pulled out because he had what did he have? He had to have his appendix out or something like that? And they offered Borrachina the fight with Uriah Hall on really late notice, and Uriah Hall turned it down. Whoa, no wonder why he did. This guy looks incredible. He looks a little inflated. He looks cut like a fucking diamond. His body is chiseled, and then he throws with a lot of power in combinations too. All 9 of his victories now are in the very first round, so I'd be interested to see going forward if he has any cardio or if he just can finish everybody in the very first round. But he's somebody to look out for. Somebody that's probably not going to stay on the Fight Pass prelims for any much more amount of time. But, yep, there is that. Matt Neutron, try not to compete with the official press conference after fights and you'll get more viewers. It's really not up to me. It's not my decision. But yeah. Hey, Ronnie Deal. This is cool. This is an announcement. I just made this happen this evening. So MMA Mania is now on SoundCloud. So if you're listening to that right now on SoundCloud, please give it a heart or a thumb up or whatever. And if you're on iTunes, which we're on iTunes now, so yay, please give us a 5-star rating or 4-star rating and give us a reason why. Tell us what's going on there. I just got MMA Mania onto SoundCloud and iTunes tonight. I'm going to work on Stitcher after we're done with this conversation. But so if you're just joining us, Ronnie Deal, go ahead and subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, and then you can listen to these shows in their entirety without having to look at my ugly mug. I love listening to podcasts while I'm at work. My job allows me to listen to podcasts while I'm there, and they really help me get through the day. And one reason why I wanted to get Mania onto iTunes was so I could maybe help out other people who have a similar issue as I. I want to listen to podcasts to help me get through, and maybe you are the same, so just trying to help you out there. Eamon Scott asks, will Carlos Condit fight again? If so, will he fight this year? I don't know if he will or if he won't, but I can tell you that I don't think he should. He was talking about retiring prior to him fighting Maia. Then he got just toasted, obliterated by Damian Maia. And why would you... if you're a fight fan, why would you want him to go again? You have this guy that's been wishy-washy about retiring, about not retiring again. He obviously doesn't have the fire in his belly anymore. He doesn't want to do this fight. He's a very intelligent man, and he doesn't want to take the damage to his brain. So if he doesn't have the desire to do it, why would you as a fight fan want to see him do it? Yes, he's a dynamic striker. Yes, he's a super fun guy to watch when he's not getting choked out by Damian Maia in the very first round. But other than that, I don't think he should come back. I don't want him to come back. Let's get into my post-fight grades. My post-fight bonuses. Let's see if I can find quickly the UFC's real bonuses. Post-fight bonuses. Michel Prazeres gets a performance bonus. Borrachina gets a performance bonus. And, no fight of the night. Gastelum and Barbosa. Those sound pretty much perfect. So Kelvin Gastelum gets a bonus for knocking out TKOing Vitor Belfort in the first round. Barbosa with that fantastic jumping flying knee knockout. Prazeres with his first round north-south choke submission, and Borrachina looking like a mother effing killer out there, getting a post-fight bonus. Matt Newton says he enjoys the show. Likes to hear my input. Thanks a lot for hanging out, Matt. I appreciate you for being here. Quick question from Jack Mooney. After a KO, doesn't the fighter get a 6 months medical suspension because Mark Hunt is only suspended until April? Weird. Gosh, that depends on the commission and where their fight took place. That it's crazy that, you know, if it was in Texas, they wouldn't get a very long suspension. I think that in like Benyil Dariush's case, it would just be smart of him to at least take, I don't know, 9 months off. I say this all the time. If you get knocked out by somebody like Anthony Johnson, you should take a year off because your brain is a delicate thing, and we've seen people come back too early and then they're chinny as fuck in their return fight after getting knocked out. And think about this. How bad would your brain be doing if you got knocked out viciously, like a knee to the face like Mark Hunt did in that third round against Alistair Overeem, and then you come back within that 6 months and then get knocked out again? Not good. You know, paychecks are great, and Mark Hunt got that $750,000, so he should just be able to sit on that for a while and go hang out. So, yes, it is weird that he didn't get a super long suspension, but it is up to each individual commission to rain those down. It would be nice if somebody like USADA came in and said, hey, bro, you got knocked the fuck out. We're going to make you sit out for X amount of time, instead of having each commission kind of do it. Because, you know, back in the day, and Bellator still does this, each individual state athletic commission that oversees the fights, they are who decides, they are who used to decide for the UFC, and they are who decides in Bellator what drug testing to implement and what drug testing to do. And that's one reason why Bellator was going to a lot of Indian reservations, because they could get people licensed to fight way easier, and then they would kind of avoid drug testing. So what my point is, we should bring in somebody like USADA, or USADA should oversee. That's not their realm, but we need somebody that can oversee the medical suspensions rather than just each individual state athletic commission. And also, it's annoying that we have these new rules, you know, the new scoring criteria and the grounded opponent and the heels to the kidneys. And what else are there changes? Well, anyway, not everybody has adapted that yet. And the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, has yet to adapt these rules. And I think that's strange. We need unification worldwide in mixed martial arts, because if you have one rule set somewhere else, like in ONE FC, where you can kick down opponents to the head, and then we have like a champion there come over here, and that was like their bread and butter, they can no longer implement that. They won't be as good in this area. So we're changing rule sets. We're going to change how skillful fighters are. You know, they are honing their skills for a specific rule set, and if they're not the same across the board, similar to, I know I'm rambling, but here's my thought process. The tiny cage, like Alistair Overeem does not do well in the tiny cage because he can't use his movement. So but Big Ben Rothwell, because he just wants to fight in a phone booth, fantastic in the tiny cage. So you get this guy who does really well in the tiny cage, then you put him in the large cage, he doesn't have the same amount of success. We really just need the same thing all across the entire board. So that was a long ramble. Rodrigo Rojas asks, what's next for Kelvin Gastelum? I said this earlier, and one of my Twitter followers said it. I know you're one of my followers too, Rodrigo. I think we give Kelvin to the winner of Gegard Mousasi versus Chris Weidman. I think that he deserves to be in the contenders list. I know that Vitor isn't a top contender, but he was ranked number 9 in the world, and he put him down super early. Tim Kennedy was considering getting a title shot. He has a victory over Michael Bisping, and Kelvin made him look like an amateur, went out there and tooled on him. I just want to move him toward the top of the ranks, and I think that we could have him do that by facing and maybe even defeating somebody like Gegard Mousasi or Chris Weidman. Jesse Whitney thinks that Gastelum will be a champion. I disagree, but that's just because I don't think anyone is going to beat Yoel Romero. I just don't. Man, that dude is a scary motherfucker. Kelvin would have a cardio advantage on Yoel. He'd probably have an output advantage on Yoel, but man, Yoel is a scary individual, and until I see him lose in the UFC, I'm not going to think anybody can beat him. And have I said this before? Yoel Romero is my UFC middleweight champion. It's not Michael Bisping. It's not going to be George St. Pierre. It is Yoel Romero, the scariest man on the planet. Or Jacare Souza. Both Jacare and Yoel are old, but I'm just super stoked that I get to watch Jacare Souza fight live in Kansas City on April 15th. How stoked would you be if you got to see that? Super fun stuff. Also, how about this? I know that they're fighting in April. I'm going to watch it, but Jacare, Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker would be a fun fight for Kelvin Gastelum. They are both high output guys with really good striking that used to be in the welterweight division. That'd be fun shit. Stan Jasinski, GSP versus Bisping is a joke. Yes, I hate it. It's bottlenecking my favorite division in the sport, which is middleweight, and I'm not incredibly happy about it. Soldier of God, baby. Yeah, he's a scary son of a bitch. Okay. We're pretty much out of comments here. Let me take a look at next week's card, and we can give some preliminary thoughts on that. My first preliminary thought is that Jimmy Manuwa is going to knock out Corey Beaston 25-8 Anderson, and I like the odds where they currently are. Minus 140 on Jimmy Manuwa over Corey Anderson. I think that if you're a betting man, like I know Stan Jasinski is, Jimmy Manuwa minus 140 I think is worth a play, and especially if we could look quickly, if we can, about Jimmy Manuwa inside the distance. The odds aren't much better for Manuwa inside the distance than they are for him playing him straight. So just play him straight if you're going to do that. I think that he knocks out Corey Anderson. Yes, Corey has some good wrestling. Yes, he's very mobile on the feet, and he's pretty diverse, but he's chinny as all get out. And I think that Jimmy Manuwa has maybe the best boxing in the light heavyweight division. I know that Rumble Johnson knocked him out, but it's different. Rumble Johnson has incredible power, but the boxing technique, I think, belongs to Manuwa. He's not as powerful as Rumble Johnson. He is really technical. He is really powerful. I think that he will have some takedown defense and end up hitting Corey Anderson with a Rock'em Sock'em Robots uppercut that sends him to the canvas, and he gets a victory in his home country. Woo! Jimmy Manuwa for the win. Other fights on the card that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing. Brad Pickett getting a short notice opponent against Marlon Chito Vera. That's going to be a close one. I don't think Marlon's that good, so it's a winnable fight for Brad Pickett in his send-off fight, his swan song, so that's pretty cool. Arnold Allen versus Makwan Amerikani. That's going to be a fun one. This fight card is happening on UFC Fight Pass exclusively, and it's happening in the middle of the day for we Americans, so it's interesting. I'm going to have to do a pre-fight show at 10 a.m. my time, which I'm not exactly looking forward to, but, there's that. Jack Mooney says Robert Whitaker's coming for that belt, young and hungry. The other top contenders are aging. Yeah. So Whitaker and Gastelum are both two young, up-and-coming guys who have high output, are deceptively super powerful, could definitely be title contenders. We're mentioning that the other fighters are older, and yeah, Yoel Romero is 40 years old, still looks like a Greek god, shredded as fuck, has that finishing ability. Fantastic stuff. Eamon Scott says he's glad to see that Joe Duffy's back. Duffy's minus 700 with the comeback on Reza Madadi at plus 500. So let's hope Joe Duffy shows up and shows off as being deserving that high line on him. I think that he will, so definitely not worth a play or anything like that, but should be a fun fight card. I think it's probably time for us to get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. The few of you that have been here, really appreciate you. If you haven't, please like my Facebook page. I would really appreciate that. I will put links in the comment section so you can just follow them to subscribe to MMA Mania on SoundCloud and also iTunes. Actually, I don't know if it's up purely on iTunes yet, but I submitted it to iTunes during the fight card, so it will be there soon. Once again, really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Namaste.